I've not got a hard on for Tyson Fury.
You do.
However, I think his story is inspiring. I think it's bigger than boxing, bigger than sport. And whether you like boxing or you don't, I think anyone that suffers from mental health can listen to him talk and feel inspired. Would you agree?
Don't know, because I haven't heard his story yet.
Okay, that's why we're going to go through it today. By the end of it, maybe you'll agree, maybe you won't agree. Who knows?
Who knows?
You're entitled to your opinion after all. Are we rolling?
Yes, we're rolling.
Okay, we're rolling, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the podcast. Hopefully in the future we may be on other platforms. Let's see how it goes. I'll be your host. My name's Tom. Alongside me, I have Luke. He is my brother. And I've convinced him that this podcast is a good idea. How is one?
It is good.
You are good.
Yes, I'm good.
How's your week been?
It's been excellent. How's your week been?
I sense a bit of sarcasm in your voice there.
Yeah, we've been working down in the basement, doing the boiler, so it's not been fun.
That doesn't sound too exciting.
No.
Do you know what as well? It's only Tuesday and it feels like it should be Thursday.
Yeah,
I'm ready for the weekend, mate. I'm ready for the weekend again. Guys, what the fuck is on telly at the moment? Love Island.
Oh no, not that shit.
Do you know what, right? I'm at work. I hear people talking about Love Island. I'm on public transport. I hear people talk about Love Island. I come home and my fucking missus is watching Love Island. I had to watch it. I didn't watch it. I was just in the front room the other night, chilling out, minding my own business. It was on 5 minutes. I listened to it for. I weren't listening. I could just hear it, right? And all I could hear was things like, I think he's really fit. He's definitely not a player. Oh, I don't like models. He's going to treat me right. It's like, what the fuck? Who puts this dog shit on telly?
I do not know.
However, if you're a single lady or if you're a single man and you get the opportunity to go on there, I've got no problems with that. A nice villa, hot weather, beautiful women.
So if you were single, would you go on it if they invited you there?
I'm married, mate. I think
if you were single, would you go on it?
If I was single,
yeah,
why not?
Okay,
you've had it. All right, let's ask you a question. How long have you been with your girlfriend for?
A year and a half, I think.
A year and a half, okay. And how old are you? 19, right?
Yeah.
So if Love Island came to you last week and said, Luke, you've got the opportunity to go on Love Island, however, you need to get rid of your missus, what would your answer be?
I don't really know.
You don't really know?
No.
Well, you definitely chuck her in, wouldn't you?
Maybe. I don't know really, because I don't really want to be on Love Island, to be honest.
Okay, so it's not the fact that you love your missus, you just don't want to be on Love Island.
No, I think it's a mixture of both. It's like I don't really think I should think I want to go on there, to be honest. Like, it's just a load of shit.
Yeah, watching it is a load of shit. But if you're on it as a single bloke and there's obviously a load of women around you, then clearly that's got to be an attractive proposition, right?
Yeah, but who want to see this fat guy on TV getting it on with some bird on there?
Are you referring to yourself, some fat guy?
Yeah.
Guys, hopefully in the future we might even record these, but we're not going to spend loads of money out on equipment because we literally don't know how this podcast is going to go. However, if Love Island do come to you next year,
who knows? Maybe I'll accept, maybe I won't.
Well, it's a question you can answer next year. All right, let's get into the video because people are not tuned in today to listen to us go on about fucking Love Island. People are watching this video more than likely because they want to hear about Tyson Fury and his inspiring story. But before we get straight into that, just want to look at a couple of things that have happened recently in the heavyweight division. Now, just before we get into the video, it's worth mentioning that you're not the biggest boxing fan. Well, you don't really follow boxing at all, do you? But I'm a massive boxing fan. However,
Tyson Fury fan.
Yeah, Tyson Fury fan, but just boxing in general, obviously, right? Now, Anthony Joshua, only a few weeks ago, losing in Madison Square Gardens, his American debut on the Zone. It all went terribly wrong.
Majorly wrong, what like?
Majorly wrong. Now, I'm with the majority of people going into that fight. I thought that he would go in there. I thought he would get it. I actually had a bet that he would win he would knock him out within 4 rounds. However,
Oh, you lost that then.
I did lose that bet. I think the only winners that night were Andy Ruiz and the bookies, mate. They must have made an absolute fortune because, let's be honest, I don't think there was many people that really would have put money on Andy Ruiz winning that fight. However, right, I'm watching that fight. Even in round 1, Andy Ruiz is taking centre of the ring. He's bossing the fight. Anthony Joshua's throwing the jab, but there's no real conviction.
No.
Round 1's over. And I'm pretty sure, even in the corner at that point, he was asking things like, what's he going to do next? It was almost like it was Anthony Joshua's first professional fight. Going into the 3rd round, obviously, Anthony Joshua knocks him down. I was watching it with a good friend of mine and he said something like, I told you we'd do him in 3. But even after he knocked him down, I still wasn't convinced. And when he went into finishing, he was incredibly reckless, just literally throwing wild shots. Andy Ruiz was too technically smart for him. His boxing IQ was clearly far better than Anthony Joshua's. And I think as well, he just literally had the bottle. He was going in there to have a proper tear up with him. And it was almost like when he got knocked down in the 3rd round, it was like, you know when someone annoys you or hurts you, like, okay, you're going to fucking get it now, pal. You're going to regret doing that. And it seemed like that knockdown just inspired him to do better than he was even doing. And obviously we all know Anthony Joshua got knocked down 4 times, lost the fight. But the biggest thing for me was it wasn't a lucky punch by Andy Ruiz. It was a boxing masterclass. Technically, he was better. His counter punching when he was under a bit of pressure was brilliant. He had the bottle to go in there and have a proper fight with Anthony Joshua. It weren't a one punch knockout, as we know in heavyweight division. You know, a punch can just change a fight. However, he went in there and beat him up. He beat him convincingly, and Anthony Joshua just didn't have any answers for him. And clearly, there was a lot of conspiracies around the fight. Lots of people are saying he had a panic attack. He got knocked out in sparring. One, I think he wouldn't have been sparring a week before the fight. That just, I'm no boxing expert, but I don't think that happens. Did he have a panic attack? Who knows? That's clearly just speculation. It's almost like the British public want to make an excuse for Anthony Joshua and be like, okay, this is why he lost.
Do you think he could have thrown a fight for money?
No.
Could he's shown that you saw how good he was before, but in this fight, like you said, he was going like he didn't have any conviction. So
I think
could he have thrown a fight?
What you mean, lost on purpose?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so, because why would he? If he beats him, he goes on to bigger and better things. He's lost his belts. He's unified world champion of the world, and there's no reason for him to do that. I think I personally believe that Anthony Joshua had an off night. I think there was complacency, and every single interview I heard with Anthony Joshua leading up to that fight, there was probably 5% of the interview they'd be talking about Andy Ruiz, and the rest of it they'd be talking about his potential opponents after he knocks out Ruiz. So when you're constantly hearing that your opponent is not up to scratch and you're literally just going to walk through him, even though he's clearly got a good team around him, I think it would be hard for anyone to remain completely focused. And even a couple of days before the Ruiz fight, Anthony Joshua was on a podcast basically saying that after he gets through Ruiz, he wants to sit down with Fury and make that fight happen. So I think it was a number of things. I think that he wasn't mentally prepared for him. I think there was complacency. I think that he went in there and Andy Ruiz was probably a lot better than he thought he was. Andy Ruiz stepped up, and maybe, I don't know, like it's all speculation, but Eddie Hearn, Anthony Joshua have come out and just said that nothing was wrong. They had a great training camp. So fair play to them. They have not come out and made excuses. Clearly, they have triggered the rematch clause in the contract. They're going to fight again later in the year. That's not been announced yet. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in a rematch. What do you think happens in a rematch?
I don't know. Maybe Anthony Joshua steps up his training.
I don't really think it was a problem in the training camp. I think it was more. But and having said that, again, it's only speculation. No one knows what went wrong unless you're Anthony Joshua. Eddie Hearn can say he had an amazing training camp. Robert McCracken can say he had a great training camp. Anthony Joshua can say it, but if something did go wrong, they're not going to come out and say it went wrong. But anything could have happened. Maybe he literally just had an off night. At the end of the day, the bloke is a human being. He's not a fucking superhero.
Everyone makes mistakes.
Everyone has an off day. And you think as well, recently in sport, look at football. Barcelona had a 3-0 win. A 3-0 win over Liverpool at the Nou Camp. They went to Anfield with a 3-0 win, and they lost 4-3. So no one would have ever thought that would have happened. However, it did happen. Look at Tottenham. They were 2-0. Was it 2-0 down? They went to Ajax 1-3-2. So look at going back even further. Look at Leicester winning the Premiership. What is that, like 5,000-1 odds against them? I know you don't know, but like the point is, at the moment and over recent years, the underdog is winning. But I'm actually pleased that he lost. I'm not pleased, but I think that it's good for the heavyweight division.
It's going to be a shock for him, shock for his system, because he's been undefeated so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was his 22nd or 23rd fight. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, how does Anthony Joshua mentally cope with that? Because up until now, he's the golden boy. He won the Olympic gold, turned pro, didn't put a foot wrong, won the world title, beat Charles Martin, and let's be honest, he was the worst world champion. However, then he went on to beat Vladimir Klitschko. He's had a few defences. He's beat Joseph Parker. He's beat Takan. He's beat Eric Molina, Dominic Brazil. He's beat him, convincingly. He didn't have an amazing performance against Parker or Takan. But then I think it's obvious that he struggles against a smaller fighter. But no, do you know what? Anthony Joshua's British. I hope he comes back. I hope he wins the rematch.
Or maybe the other guy comes back and defeats him again.
Yeah, and do you know what? It reminds me a little bit of when David Haye fought. Why can't I remember his name? Liverpool bloke, Tony Bellew. Right, before that fight, everyone thought that David Haye would go in there and blast him out. However, as we all know, Tony Bellew won. Obviously, to be fair, Anthony Joshua, David Haye was more or less on one leg for a large percentage of that fight. However, going into the second fight, everyone was like, oh, okay, David Haye didn't take him seriously enough. He was in bloody, wherever he was it Vegas or where was he? He was somewhere, or Miami, sorry. He was in Miami on yachts, having parties or whatever. So this time around, he's going to be training hard, not overlooking him. However, he went into the second fight and lost again. It also, obviously completely different in a way, because David Haye was at the end of his career and past his best. Anthony Joshua is, not at the beginning, or not at the end of his career, but
he's in the middle.
Yeah, he's in his prime. So it reminds me a little bit of that. But technically, Andy Ruiz is a good fighter. He's got quick hands. He doesn't look like he's a boxer, which always surprises me, right? Because he's a small, fat guy from Mexico. First Mexican heavyweight champion of the world as well. Fair play to him. And it always amazes me because he spends all his time in the gym, training, running, lifting weights, sparring, boxing, whatever. How do you still have a belly on you?
Maybe he eats a lot at home.
You'd make a great nutritionist, mate. But yeah, maybe a lot of it is just genetics. But as Tyson Fury says, it is funny because when you look at Anthony Joshua and Klitschko, they look fantastic. And even Klitschko's been retired a few years now, and he still looks fantastic. But as Tyson Fury says, they're both being beaten by fat men. I can't wait for the rematch with Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz. I think, well, I don't know. I heard Anthony Joshua apparently saying to Eddie Hearn he'd like it back in New York to sort of, right the wrong, if you like. Eddie Hearn, I think, would like it in the UK, with the English fans behind him.
Support.
Yeah, home support. And I suppose if it went the distance as well, you'd always like to be in your home country. However, personally, I think it makes it really interesting. And also as well, I think it's easy just to look at Anthony Joshua's last fight and think, oh no, he was not at the races. Look at you've only got to look at his last few fights. He's beaten people like Povetkin, he's beaten Parker, he's beaten Takan, Klitschko. So let's give him some credit. He's done very well, and even the greatest fighters lost fights. Look at Ali, greatest not only boxer, sporting legend. He lost a fight. I think it's people like Mayweather that leave the sport, and when they've gone out with no loss on their record, it's almost like now that if you do lose, you can't be considered as the greatest. But I don't really believe that's the case. However, that's Anthony Joshua, that's Andy Ruiz. Let's get on to the big man, Tyson Fury, aka Gypsy King. I want to talk about his story. It's inspiring, and it's bigger than sport. And also as well, if you are someone that does suffer from mental health problems, I would definitely recommend listening to some of his interviews, especially the interviews where he talks about coming back from where he was, because those interviews are fucking inspiring. They're sort of, put the hairs in the back of your neck up. You have those sort of stories, Yeah. So before we started this podcast today, I was telling you about what I wanted to talk about. You was basically saying I've got a massive hard-on for Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
Which you haven't. I'm just a massive fan.
You do.
So we're going to talk about his life, not his life story, over the last sort of 5 years. And then hopefully at the end, you'll appreciate why I think his story is inspiring. Okay. So going back to 2015, right?
Yep.
Tyson Fury has got a chance to be heavyweight champion of the world. He's fighting a man called Vladimir Klitschko. Vladimir Klitschko has been the heavyweight champion for years, like 100 years. He's basically ruled the heavyweight division. Tyson Fury gets the chance to fight him. He's going into the fight as a big underdog. The fight's in Germany, in Dusseldorf. It's in Vladimir's backyard, basically. Tyson Fury goes out there, wins the fight, goes the distance. He gets a points decision over him, right? He's a world champion. So in one night, Tyson Fury has
changed his life around.
So it's a bit like, if you're a swimmer, you go to the Olympics and you win the gold medal. If you're a footballer, you win the Champions League, you win a World Cup. You're at the pinnacle of your sport. You're at the top. No one else is better than you at that point in time. However, it was the best time of his life, but it was the beginning of the worst time of his life. So after the fight, there's a rematch. However, Tyson Fury pulls out of the fight because he basically goes into a very bad place. It's well documented that he suffered from mental health all of his life. So he starts drinking a lot. He starts doing drugs, cocaine, I think was his preference at the time. Okay. Well, preference, whatever. So he starts drinking a lot. He starts doing drugs a lot. He's going out on absolute benders. Doesn't sound too bad, actually, does it?
No, it sounds like he's living the life.
Apart from the drugs, that's another thing. We'll talk about that another time. But everyone's doing drugs at the moment. But again, we'll save that for another video. So Tyson Fury, he's won the world title, best time of his life, best moment of his life. However, beginning of his worst time of his life, he does drugs, does drink, goes up to 400 pounds, and I think that's like 30 stone. Now,
that's a lot.
It is a lot. And when you hear him talk as well, it's almost like after he won the world title, it's almost like
he gave up.
No, he didn't give up. It was like, now I don't have a purpose. Look at it like this, right? You work all your life to retire, to get your house, to have a pension, and then you stop working, and then it's like, well,
What do I do now?
what do I do now? And what is my purpose? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm saying.
So I feel, obviously, clearly I've never spoke to him, I don't know him, but that's the sort of impression I get when listening to him talk, that I've done what I achieved. I've done what I wanted to achieve ever since a young kid. I wanted to be the heavyweight champion of the world. I've done it. What else? What else do I need to do? So he is at a Halloween party in 2017. He's 400 pounds. He's dressed as a skeleton. Not that what he's dressed as really makes any difference to this video. However, he's at this party. He's looking around him, and he's like, well, what am I doing here? Everyone's really young, and I'm not just making this shit up. This is well documented. He talks about this in great detail. So he's at this Halloween party with his wife. Helps if you can talk during the podcast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So he's at this Halloween party. He's massively overweight. He's not in a good place. He leaves the party. They go home, him and his wife. He goes upstairs into a dark room and breaks down. He prays to God for help, basically. Now, I'm not really that religious, so I can't really relate to this. And you're not really that religious, are you? So he prays to God for like 10 minutes or so. He says that he felt like a massive weight had been lifted off his shoulders. He calls his wife up or goes down, and he basically says to her, from Monday, I'm training again, and I'm going to get back to where I was, and I'm going to become world champion. And he talks about how his wife was basically not didn't believe him or didn't want to believe him, but just heard it 1,000 times. He was almost like the bloke that cried.
It's like a broken record. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like an alcoholic saying, I'm gonna give up drinking, or a drug addict saying, whatever your addiction is. And they've said it 1,000 times before. They say it again. I've never been in that situation. Don't know anyone in that situation, but you can imagine they're like, okay, whatever. I hope you do, but
just leave him to get onto it, like type of situation.
Yeah. So he starts training again, and he does make a comeback, but he's not really training like you normally train, because when boxers train for a fight, obviously they might have put on a little bit of weight, but they're still quite fit because that is their job. But Tyson Fury is now about 30 stone. So
you have to do a major training type stuff.
Well, it's fat camp basically. Now, I used to swim at national level, and we used to have a 2-week break in the summer. And in that 2-week break in the summer, you're out with your mates, you're drinking, you're at barbecues, you're doing all the unhealthy things that you shouldn't be doing. When I used to go back to training after those 2 weeks off, I used to feel sluggish, and it was hard to get back into it for the first sort of few sessions. Imagine putting on 10 stone and doing all those drugs and all that, and drinking all that drink. Imagine when you start running again, or just start sparring or hitting that bag, you must feel like an absolute bag of shit. So he puts on all that weight. He starts training again. He's told his wife he wants to become world champion. This is in 2017. In 2018, he fights 3 times. He has 2 warm-up fights, and he fights people that are not well known. But at this point, he's had like 2 years out of the ring. So
it's just something to get back into.
Yeah, we can't complain, right? However, after he wins those 2 fights quite easily, who does he choose to fight? Deontay Wilder. So at the end of last year, in LA, he fights Deontay Wilder. Now, at the moment, arguably, he is the most dangerous heavyweight to ever fight. Now, whether you agree with that or you disagree with that, that's what people say. Arguably, he's one of the best heavyweights. Not the best heavyweights, but he holds the most power. He's literally got dynamite in his right hand, right? So when he hits you, you stay hurt. And Tyson Fury, after only 2 fights, wants to fight him. So late last year in LA, December 1, he goes to LA and fights Deontay Wilder. And I'm watching this fight. I'm nervous as fuck because I want Tyson Fury to win. And to be fair to Tyson Fury, he absolutely outboxes him. He basically put on such a good display. At some point, he has his hands down by his sides. At some point, he's got his hands behind his back. And I remember shouting at the telly, put your fucking hands up. This geezer has got dynamite in his right hand. If he hits you, you stay here. So he gets dropped, and I think it was round 9. I can't remember to be precise, but I think it's round 9. However, he's for me, he's winning the fight comfortably. Round 12... So just before round 12, after round 11, again, he's winning the fight for me convincingly and for everyone else. Going into round 12, I'm just thinking, please don't get hit. Just keep him at distance with your jab. What happens in round 12? He gets hit within the first, I think it was in the first minute. And you've seen this bit, haven't you? Where he literally, he goes down, you think it's over, and he gets back up.
I think I watched the highlights of it.
You did watch the highlights. I think I watched them with you. I watched the fight, and I obviously watched it again. I've watched it again a few other times. But he was out, and for him to get up from that, is incredible. And he didn't only get up from that punch. He went on to win the rest of the round. Now, when he did get up, I was thinking, surely Deontay Wilder's just going to go in there and finish him now. Like, how, it's one thing getting up from that sort of knockdown, but to even have any control, even to know where you are, how do you do that? But he doesn't only get up; he goes on to win the rest of the round. And unfortunately, he didn't get the decision. He got a draw. I think there's only a small minority of people who think it was a draw. Most people feel like he was robbed. He did win the fight. But he's a man that has literally been to hell and back over the last few years. And I forgot to add the fact that he was close to taking his own life. There's a great interview on Joe Rogan where he goes into incredible detail about driving his Ferrari along a bridge. I don't know whether he was going to drive into a bridge or drive off the bridge, but he was moments away from taking his own life. Fortunately, he didn't. He pulled over. He was like sweating, he was shaking, clearly in a state. But the point is that this story for me is bigger than sport. Whether you're Tyson Fury, whether you work in a bakery or you serve people in a shop, whatever you may do, male or female, whatever age you are, because sadly in this country at the moment there are too many young people taking their lives due to whatever reason, especially males. I don't know if you know that or not. It's getting a bit deep, isn't it?
It is getting a bit deep.
It is getting a bit deep, but the point is that there are too many people taking their own lives due to, I can only presume, mental health problems or whatever it may be. But when you get a former heavyweight champion of the world come out and say, look, I'm suffering. I was close to taking my own life. I've been suffering all my life. This is what I do to make myself feel better, then surely that can only be a good thing.
Yeah, it inspires others to...
It does inspire others, and there is a stigma around men that basically...
They don't really need help.
And they don't want to talk about the problems. If you get a problem, or especially like mentally, I don't want to go to the doctors and tell them I don't feel quite right. I'm not as happy as I maybe feel like I should be. But when you get a big, tough heavyweight come out and say, I'm suffering, then anyone else hopefully can feel, actually, if Tyson Fury can suffer.
Come out and say it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, that's why I said to you before we started the podcast that his story is bigger than boxing. His story is inspiring for what he's done now in the ring and out the ring. He says when you listen to him talk that he gets inundated with messages on a daily basis, people thanking him for saving their lives, because people that have been suffering, that are suffering, are watching him and just taking inspiration from his story. So now that we've gone through that, I hope that you can understand a little bit more why I think his story is inspiring. On a brighter note, Mr. Luke.
Much brighter.
On a much brighter note, I hope that he goes on to win a world title again. He obviously fought only a couple of weeks ago. He fought Tom Schultz in Las Vegas, baby. Made his well, made his Las Vegas debut. And the only thing I didn't know about Tyson Fury before the fight in Vegas, that was his first time in Vegas, because he basically said, until I get to fight in Vegas, I'm not going to go to Vegas.
Oh.
So, yeah, I found that interesting.
Yeah, I've never been to Vegas. Maybe I need to take that motto up.
Yeah, but also as well, when he was having all these troubles, at that point, he was a multi-millionaire. So
You could have quite easily gone to Vegas and done all the stuff down there.
But the point is, like, he didn't need to come back. But for him, again, it's well documented. Training is his basically his therapy, his medicine, whatever you want to call it. But I think that is right. When you are training, when you're in the gym, when you
don't think about anything else but the training.
Well, not just that. When you're physically training, you're releasing endorphins. When you're training, you look good, or you're working hard. I think mentally it makes you feel good as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but sometimes training can make a negative impact as well, because I've seen it where people train and then they think their body still doesn't look good.
Yeah, but I think that's more of a psychological problem, isn't it?
Yes.
Or some sort of, it's like people that got that make people that are anorexic. They look in the mirror and they think they're fat, but they're not. They're a bag of bones.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like sometimes like that happens.
But no, yeah, absolutely. But for me, that's why his story is inspiring, and for him as well. Now he's got these obviously fights. He obviously had the fight with Tom Schultz. It looks like he's going to be fighting Wilder next year. Clearly, his mind is focused on boxing, and for me, he's back as Ring Magazine #1. Let's hope he goes on to unify the division in time to come. Now, that is the end of Tyson Fury and my opinion on him. Again, I hope he goes on to win the world title, unifying the division. Let's hope Anthony Joshua at the end of the year can get his belts back. And Deontay Wilder, incredible knockout only a few weeks ago against Dominic Brazil. Dominic Trouble Brazil. He was in trouble. You did see that knockout, right?
No.
Oh, fucking hell, Luke. Right, so Dominic Brazil.
I need to start watching boxing.
You need to stop, mate. Honestly, boxing is a great sport. And for me, I think I like boxing now more than football.
Would you go and train for a bit of boxing then?
I'll do a bit of training. I'd never want to fight because I'm a bit of a pussy.
Oh, well, James is starting to do boxing now, so why are they going to do it with him?
No, I'd rather go for a run. But yeah, so Deontay Wilder fought Dominic Brazil only a couple of weeks ago. Absolutely destroyed him in a round. Right hand, dynamite in the right hand, put his lights out. And I just want to get your opinion on this as well. There was quite a few there's a controversial comment that Wilder made. He basically said he wanted a body on his record. What is your opinion on that?
In what context was he speaking?
Well, he's basically saying that in boxing, because you're fighting your opponent and you're allowed to fight your opponent, he's basically saying that if I kill someone, so be it.
So he doesn't care if he kills anyone or not?
Well, for me, I don't think he really actually meant it. I think that he was just trying to get people to talk about his fight. I think, once he actually said that, every boxing media outlet was obviously talking about it. So naturally, more people are talking about it, more interested in the fight. The only thing I don't like about that is the fact that clearly he's got a lot of young fans.
It's basically saying he has he disregards morals about boxing, about it being safe. He just he doesn't care if anyone get killed.
Yeah, and when you've got fans all over the world, some old, some young. For some young people, and a lot of young people, you're an icon. It's like when you kick a ball around as a kid. You pretend you're David Beckham. When you're in a gym, when you're an American up and coming boxer, when you're 10, 11 in the gym, and you're heavy, you're a big lad. Look at me, I'm Deontay Wilder. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
him saying that makes him think, it doesn't matter if I kill anyone in boxing.
Yeah, it sort of it makes you sort of question his integrity. I don't think he wants to kill anyone, but when he hit Brazil and he went down, he looked like he was dead. But could you imagine if he did kill someone after making those comments? Because let's face it, people do and have died in a ring, and people do get hit in a ring, and people don't recover. Look at the time that...
It would be a very explosive media outlet if someone did die after he said that comment, though.
Yeah, I think it's just something that he shouldn't say. But it does seem to me that in boxing, the governing bodies don't do an awful lot, because obviously Gerald Miller, right, Big Baby Miller, he was meant to be fighting Anthony Joshua originally. He got caught cheating because he's a drugs cheat. And I think he got 6 months before he could box again. And it's not like he got caught cheating. No, sorry. It's not like he accidentally took a substance that he didn't completely understand and he messed up that way. He was intentionally cheating to give himself a physical advantage going into that fight. So that he intentionally cheated. But however, he still didn't really get a lot of punishment. So it's almost like...
So what do you think would be appropriate punishment for him then?
I don't know, because again, we're talking about boxing. We're talking about a sport where you can kill someone. So if you go in there and in the 12th round, you've got just as much power as you have in the first round, and your opponent is not on drugs, not cheating, and they are fatigued because you've gone 12 rounds and they're not taking performance-enhancing drugs, and you do kill someone, or you do win, even, forget about killing people. If you intentionally cheat and you win and you're found out, then I don't know, but...
So what do you think would be appropriate action?
At least 2 years.
At least 2 years?
At least 2 years, yeah, because it would make the sport clean, and it would make people question whether they really want to actually try and cheat. However, you don't know who's around him, who's in his ear, who's basically saying, do this, this is not going to show up. But he signed up to the VADA testing. VADA basically test these athletes they can basically come up to you at any given point and say, look, I want to test you right now for substances. Let's get it on. He signed up to that testing before he went into the fight. So why would you then cheat knowing that at any given point you can be tested?
Do they get tested for every match, or do they just come randomly and just say it? Well,
with the Anthony Joshua fight in particular, both fighters were with VADA, so going into that fight and the lead up to the fight, they can be tested at any point. VADA can come up and say, look, whether you're at home, whether you're in the gym, whenever, and say, look, give us a sample, we'll take it away, and then we'll test it. That's what they've done with him. It come back positive for X, Y, and Z. He was clearly cheating. But yeah, no, it just seems like in boxing you can do a lot of things. You can make controversial comments, you can cheat, and not a lot really happens.
Yeah, it's like some like sports like rugby. Did you hear about that Australian rugby player? What made them controversial?
Was that the homophobic?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's been sacked now, isn't he?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that did appropriate action. Like if that was in boxing, would you get the same action done to you?
Well, that's my point. With boxing, it seems like you can cheat, you can say what you want to say, but not a lot really happens. Could you imagine if Anthony Joshua came out and said something like what Wilder says, like, I want a body in my record? But let's all face it, Anthony Joshua is clearly very well media trained.
Yeah, he focused more on the media type things, hasn't he?
Well, he's Sky's cash cow, and he's Eddie Hearn's cash cow. He doesn't put a foot out of place. Even after he lost, he was very diplomatic, very complimentary to Andy Ruiz. He doesn't often say things that are going to get him in trouble. But that's why I like Tyson Fury as well, because
he says what he wants.
He says what he wants. He's not as controversial as he was previously. And he's a character. Like when he fought Klitschko, he comes to a press conference in a Batman suit. He says what he wants to say, and he's a great talker. He sells the fight. He's got a personality. You listen to Anthony Joshua now in interviews, He
sounds rehearsed.
It does sound rehearsed. He sounds very media trained. And also, when you think of Anthony Joshua as well, I almost look at him like he's a brand rather than an individual. However, it's going to be interesting now because Tyson Fury is on his way up. He put on a masterclass at the weekend against Tom Short, stopped him in 2 rounds. He has fought Wilder, didn't get the decision. Andy Ruiz is the world champion, first Mexican American. Congratulations to him. Anthony Joshua wants to get his belts back. You've got Dillian White.
I think everyone's going for the belts now.
Everyone's going for their belts, mate. Dave Allen's fighting David Price on the 20th of July, I believe. That's going to be a great night of boxing.
I think I heard something about Tyson Fury doing a fight next year.
Yeah, he will be fighting. Yeah, but I think he's fighting later on in this year. He's going to hopefully get the Wilder rematch next year. Hopefully unify the division, go on to greatness, and then retire with all the belts. But guys, that is our podcast on Tyson Fury especially and his inspiring story. And a few of our thoughts about other things that are going on. Just before we end the podcast, just want to ask you a question.
Go on then.
What would you do if you won £10 million?
Ooh, I don't know.
No. You weren't expecting this question, was you?
No, I think I'll invest like a quarter of it, just so I always have a bit of money.
Yeah.
Have
a fucking party, mate.
Yeah, that's sort of.
Have a party.
Buy a massive house and have a fucking party in it.
What else?
Buy a fucking Ferrari or fast car just to drive around in.
You've had your driving licence for how long?
2 years.
And you've not got yourself a car yet.
Can't afford it.
Is there a period of time though when you pass your test? Sorry, then you've got to retake it if you don't drive in that time.
Not that I know of.
I think there is. You might want to check that.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be something like 5-10 years or something.
I don't know, mate. What else would you do? 10 million quid. Could you imagine that?
Yeah. What would you do with 10 million quid then?
I think do you know what I'd do, right?
What?
I'd tuck some money away, and then I would hire a private jet. I'd get all my family and friends and go somewhere fucking mental for a long period of time and have a great time. And just non-stop partying, mate.
Would you buy your own island? Because I heard some islands going cheap.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I actually watched a YouTube video saying that some islands going cheap.
Oh, I don't know, mate. I would just have an absolutely crazy mental time, and I'd enjoy every moment of it. Also, as well, the weather's been dog shit for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
What's all that about?
Don't know. We need the sun back.
And what is it as well with people that let their dogs shit everywhere and don't want to pick up after their dog? Do you know what? That is really, really, really fucking me off at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, you know where I live, right?
Yeah.
And just around the corner from me, there's a fenced off football area where kids go and play football, kids go and play basketball, and there is a bin right outside of it. But you get people that can't be asked to take their dog for a proper walk. They let their dogs run in there
and just let them
let them shit in there. So I've gone down to take my son before, and we've been playing basketball. We've had to go home and wash the basketball because it's rolled off and landed in dog shit.
Nice.
But the thing is, that really gets my back up is that if you take your dogs for a walk, right, in the middle of nowhere, and you kick their shit in the middle of the woods, then okay, I understand that. But when you know that this is a particular area where young people are going to be, and there's literally a bin as you go in there, and you still can't be asked to pick it up. I just think, what the fuck? It's not even that,
It's not like they even check it. They probably just go in there.
And no, that's the thing.
Put the dog in there and just let the dog.
That's the thing as well. When I go out and take our dogs out, right, you'll see dogs that are about 100 metres behind their owners. So they're doing their business.
And
they don't even know. You got young kids again down there. Say if and also as well, say if you're elderly, you walk on it, you walk in it, then you go home, you walk through it, you walk that dog shit through your house. And also as well, I know of someone that knew a girl from Kent that got it in her eyes as a young child and basically went blind. So it's like, if you are a dog owner or you do know someone that's got a dog, tell them to pick up after the dog, because
It's not nice.
It's not nice. It's disgusting, and it's completely irresponsible, and it really annoys me. Like, I've been so tempted to just sit down that court in the bush and just wait. Wait for someone to do it, just so I can confront them, because it literally winds me up so much. It's just so unnecessary. But that's my rant of the day over. That's what's been fucking me off this week. Also, the weather's been absolute dog shit, considering that we're in June, we're in the UK, and it should be nice and hot. Anything else? All right, guys, I think we've done enough tonight. I hope you've enjoyed the video about Tyson Fury and his inspiring story.
And what you find annoying.
If you feel like you can add anything, or you think like we've missed something out, please feel free to comment. Would you like to add anything?
No.
No?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, guys, anyone that's listened this far, thank you very much. Stick around and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.